Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are tuning in to see this LinkedIn Live, a special LinkedIn Live on a weekend. My name is Naishat Gadani, and I'm the founder of Your Career Down Under. I am right now originally from India, migrated to Australia around 12, 13 years back. But as of now, I'm back in India. I am under, or me and my family are under complete lockdown due to the COVID-19 situation. And we are slowly finding how do we get back to our adopted home. And since the time that I've come here, the world has turned absolutely upside down. Thousands to thousands of people have lost job. There is absolutely mayhem out there in terms of employment. Just in Australia, we have seen 3/4 of a million people have lost or will lose the job. These numbers are absolutely mind-numbing. And since last 5 weeks, me and my friend and colleague started to do LinkedIn lives, and we have not missed any weekdays. But today, being an Anzac Day and weekend, she wanted to take a break, and I wanted to continue our tradition of delivering career care package to your LinkedIn screen. So, what is career care package? It is our LinkedIn live event where we bring new ideas, perspectives, and also experts to deliver hope to you. Because I think that in this time, what is needed is a voice of reason and voice of hope. So that's what we are trying to do. So without further to go into a lot of details about the career care package, I wanted to introduce you to our guest and expert today, Hemant Deshpande. Hemant is in Pune, India, which is the western part of India, and Hemant, brings a wealth of experience. He has been, into IT industry for a long time, and then he himself have undergone career transition, and now he helps people to go through similar challenges. So, without me telling about Hemant, so Hemant, if you can tell our listeners a little bit about your background and specifically how did you and why did you decide to make a career change?
Oh, sure, Naishat. Uh, so I'm an engineer by qualification. I graduated, more than 23 years back, and I started into the IT industry, which was, growing very fast at that point in time. So I joined the IT industry. I worked in the IT industry for 18 years. I was really fortunate to work with some of the top class companies in the world, such as IBM, Infosys, and others. Uh, During these 18 years of my career, I was also lucky, really fortunate to work across the globe. I worked in the US for about 5 to 6 years, across different locations for different clients. I also got opportunity to work in Europe. I worked in China for a year. That was a very interesting, very enriching experience for me. So after working in the corporate for 18 years, out of that, about 10 to 20, 12 years as a manager, as a leader, um, something inside of me started telling me that, hey, you know what? Now it's time to start looking at, something new and something. This thought started becoming stronger in my mind that I wanted to follow my heart. Uh, so I started looking at what is it that I want to do, and that's where really the career transition journey started. Um, so that was back in 2013, 2014, and I left my corporate job, Nashad, in 2015 after taking a 6 month sabbatical. And since then, for the last more than 5 years now, I'm working as a career transformation coach, mid-career transformation coach. As you rightly said, Nashad, that after transitioning into a new career where I'm really excited to do this work, which I have been doing for the last 5 years. I was really clear that, there are thousands of professionals out there who want to follow their heart, and they want to, transition their careers to what they would love to do. So that's the work that I do now, and I'm really happy to share with you, Najat, that in the last 5 years, I really got this, fantastic opportunity to serve almost close to 200 clients on their career transformation journeys. So yeah, that's what I have been
Excellent.
doing.
No, no, that's really awesome, and I think people do find their calling, somewhere, and I think it is also important because people do find their calling most of the time. I have a theory that deep down we
Yeah.
always know what we want to do, but it takes a while for us to acknowledge the presence of it and then act on it, and there's nothing wrong with it. You can act on it when you are 50 years, 60 years, it doesn't matter because career is no longer a predictable journey. It is unpredictable, uncertain, and fluid journey, as I like to call it. But I think
Yeah.
if we can focus on the career, change and career transformation, are you seeing a trend that as what a lot of people say is that when you hit around 40s, that's where you hit your crisis around career. That's where you start to figure out, I've worked for 15, 20 years, I don't know whether I want to continue this, I want to do something else. Are
Hmm.
you seeing that people are starting to hit those crisis is probably not the right word, but enlightenment, or starting to figure out what they want to do? Is it happening around 40s, or is it also happening before that as well now?
Yeah, Naishad, that's a great question. I must say that's a great question, and I will also touch upon what you said earlier, that all of us have within us that yearning, to follow our heart. Yes, but as we, many of us start our journeys, we do not have many choices, so we, start with whatever is available at that point in time. And I can speak for myself. I became an engineer because all my friends, my close friends became engineers, so I became engineer, right? I did not really know at that young age that if engineering is something that I wanted to do. Yeah, but I did that. Yeah. So then, over the period of time, over that journey, after 18 years, I realized when I was close to 40s, then I had seen enough of the world. I had seen, a career of 18 years. I had worked in different roles. I had worked in different organizations. I had worked in different countries. And that journey also, started making me or bringing me closer to myself, what I wanted to do in that journey. So coming to your question specifically, do I see a pattern in that? Yes, I see a pattern, starting with myself, right? That at the age of 40, I started asking this question to myself, that going through the corporate job, doing that, there were certain advantages, and there were certain realities of life, as we call it, right? So work satisfaction, monotony of work, stress at work life balance, these things were missing for me at that point in time. And then I started asking myself this question, that is this really worth it? And there is a quote, Nashad, I would like to share with you and all our audience here, that there is a quote which had a profound impact on me. The quote goes like this: we all have two lives. We all have two lives. The second one starts when we realize we only have one. I think that is
That's a,
what happened to
that's a very
me.
profound. Yes, absolutely. That's a very
Yes.
profound way to think about career. So if we just talk, because now we are talking career transition in COVID-19 times. It is not
Yeah.
a traditional life right now out there. We are seeing
Yeah.
lockdowns. We are seeing a lot of industries being impacted and everything. So
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on the current employment challenges? And I'm pretty sure that the people out there are facing tremendous pressure, to continue
Yeah.
to enjoy the financial security that they've always enjoyed. Now things have started to shaken up a little bit. So what are your thoughts on, as of now, as you talk to your clients and the industry out there, what are, specifically in the context of Indian employment challenges, what are you observing, Hemant?
Sure. Sure. So, of course, the situation that we are in currently because of the COVID-19, the pandemic across the globe. This is something unprecedented. This is something that, this kind of a, challenge we have not seen, for a long, long time. At least in my lifetime, I have not seen this kind of a challenge. Um, Now, having said that, we are living in, uncertain times. Having said that, the world, because of globalization and because of internet technology that is available, has had started becoming more competitive anyway. Even before COVID-19 happened, it had started becoming, connected. It also meant that it had started becoming, more competitive. For example, if I have certain, job to get done, for example, build my website, I can hire any consultant from anywhere in the world today. Yeah. So it has become competitive. So that's one thing to look at. Secondly, there are also challenges which are based on geography. So in India, for example, if we see India as a country, we are a country of a large young population. There are thousands, maybe millions of graduates which are coming out of colleges, and who are seeking jobs. That automatically creates pressure on people who are already in their jobs, maybe who have crossed 40, maybe who have crossed 50. So that is also a reality which was already there even before COVID-19. Also, there are industry specific realities, such as, in India, for example, telecom industry, has been undergoing, some difficult times. There has been a lot of consolidation, mergers, acquisitions happening. Same thing is true for IT industry, which was growing very fast 15 years back, 20 years back. No more. The growth has slowed down. So there are industry specific realities also. Now, coming to COVID-19, which is the current situation that we are in, definitely this is unprecedented, and it has created, that kind of a challenge for all of us. During this time, what is it that the external situation, unfortunately, we all know that we cannot change that. But what we can look at, what we can focus on is, who am I as an individual? Who am I as a professional? This is Naishad, I think, is the best time also to retrospect, also to reflect back on what I have done in my career, what are my best skills, what is it that I want to do next, in my career. This is a time to take stock. A lot of times I have seen, Naishad, that we do not get time in our busy lives to pause and review our life and our careers. This is the best time. This gives us time to think about, what we are really great at, what are the skills that we bring to the table. So, keeping a positive outlook. So that is what I would share.
Excellent. So let's start with the, because a lot of people might be thinking, as you rightly pointed out, this is the time to reflect. And, we've been
Yeah.
talking about this particular, issue for last 5 weeks. So a lot of people are starting to, would starting to realize that, maybe it's time for me to look at where else can I change my career.
Yeah.
What's your process? So if you give us a kind of an overview of your process, of where somebody should start to do the first step, second step, third step, because I think taking the first step, in my view, is the
Yeah.
most difficult part. It's like you are taking that leap of faith into it, in unknown, in an area that you've never ventured out. And typically in the context of Indian employment, challenges, is that
Yeah.
there's a lot of lack of data. There's lot of lack of career paths available. You don't have a lot of data and a lot of kind of sort of pre-drawn career paths available, so you're kind of taking a leap of faith. So take us through your process.
Sure, sure, Nashad. And I think you have hit on a very important point again here, that, first step is really, really important. And first step typically, is a difficult one, especially when we are talking about career transition, career transformation, career change. Uh, somebody might have worked in a certain industry for, let's say, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and, they do not know what's happening out there in the world. Now here, The first step, in my view, is look at why do you want to change your career? Why do you want to change it? What's the reason, right? Is the reason a short term reason, like you want to take up a job which is a necessity now, or you are looking at a longer term? And both could be possible. I mean, you may say that, hey, in the short term I want to take up a job, but in the long term I want to really get into a career which is satisfying, sustainable for me. Now for the short term thing, I think to look at is what are the skills that you have, and if your current organization is undergoing some challenges, and because of which one has lost a job, what are the other organizations where these skills will be valuable? That's one place to look at. Other place to look at, if your industry is undergoing certain kind of challenges, then look at what are the skills you have, what is the knowledge that you have, and then where else can these skills be useful. For example, people who have technology skills, now during the COVID-19 times, everybody is using technology. Everybody is using Zoom, or the kind of platform you are using, Naishad. Everybody is learning technology. So I have seen in the last 6 weeks there have been so many webinars to upgrade people with technology skills. So where can you use your skill? And definitely, if you have a skill, you can always use that skill. Another approach that will be useful, so based on the process that I have developed, is again, I would like to take a long term approach to career reinvention. Yeah. uh, Taking short term requirements in view, of course there is something that needs to be done, but when we are looking at a career transition, my view is take a marathon approach, not a 100-meter sprint approach. Yeah. So marathon typically is a 42 kilometers. So in your career, maybe you have 20 years, maybe you have 30 years, maybe you have 15 years left in your career. Look at it from that perspective, long term perspective. So take a marathon approach to your career. Look at why you want to transition. Look at your skills. Look at your interests also. That's an important aspect. Create a vision. So first step, after you find out why, create a vision for your career. Where would you like to see yourself in next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? Maybe 10 years is a very long time. So create a vision for your career, and then start taking the practical steps. And you're right, Naishad, that there is not a lot of data available out there. So but these days, I mean, good thing is that there are a lot of career coaches who are there are certain institutes who are providing that kind of a data. So taking professional help during this time could be also one of the support systems people can use. So these are some of the steps that I would suggest. Yeah.
If I can, I think you touched on very critical aspects. Is first is you got to figure out what's the rationale of you changing your career. Is it just because you hate your job, you don't like the company, you don't? I think identifying the real, the core of the issue
Yeah.
is very vital, because you don't want to carry that similar emotion in the next job that or next
Yeah.
career that you choose. I think one of, if I can add a couple of things into that as well, Hemant, is around interviewing or meeting people that think they've got the career that you aspire for. I think on the periphery, a lot of people see,
Sure.
wow, working as a coach is amazing, right? You sit down there with a notepad and listen to people and provide answers, right? But they don't see that the amount of research, amount of kind of
Absolutely.
thinking that you undergo. People don't see those things. Similarly, I think after the glamour of it, or after the outside, facade of it, you got to really figure out what does that person do daily, and can I really see myself doing those things daily. So I think that is very important, because you really have to to get into the nitty gritties of it rather than just looking at how much that person earns and how much that person how much is that is perceived in the society and everything else. So this is my view on that. Secondly is to also look at really going through this kind of finding transferable skills process. I think you touched upon that aspect. One of my pet exercises that I do, and but the next question is around that, is an exercise called mind mapping. uh, it's a very simple exercise. It is probably it is used in education a lot, and I have recently used it for myself. I actually sat down and did that. Then I used it with a couple of
Mm-hmm.
my clients, and they were just absolutely fascinated to identify the things that they already know and the things that they really want to do. It is kind of a blue sky thinking exercise, but you're allowing yourself to go
Wow.
absolutely free. I strongly urge people to look at mind mapping. It is, and there
Yeah.
are apps available now, but I'm not a big fan of the apps. I think the writing down with a big piece of paper, actually you get more done, and you're more active in bringing ideas rather than when you're using a computer and creating something on it. So I believe that mind mapping can be a liberating thing. But obviously you need an objectivity to it. Then you need someone like you to say, look, Hemant, I've done this. Now help me make sense of it. So what are your, do you use any assessment tools, or do you, kind of, do you advocate for certain assessment tools? And, what are some of them? And if they are available freely for people to go and at least, check it out and try out some of them.
Surely, surely, Rashad, and I really appreciate the points that you brought up. Is to look at people who are doing jobs which interest you, yeah, which inspire you. I think that's a great suggestion that you gave. And secondly, this tool that you introduced to all of us is this mind mapping. I think that's great. Coming to your question, Naisha, that are there any assessment tools? Definitely, definitely there are assessment tools. So one of the tools that I use with my clients a lot, and they have found amazing results with that, is personality test, which is also called a psychometric test. Uh, Now, one of the aspects in career transition, career transformation, as I like to call it, is enhancing self-awareness. And personality test really helps in enhancing self-awareness. Personality is essentially what we are talking about here is intrinsic personality. These are behavioral preferences that we are talking about. We all have certain type of personality and behavioral preferences, and it helps a lot if our job, our career is aligned to our personality. To give you an example, if there is an introvert person, people who person who doesn't like much of people interaction, that's their preference. If you put that person into a sales job where there is a lot of people interaction involved, then that person may not enjoy that job. Then that career is not really such sustainable for that person. That person may become good at it with practice and experience, but that person may not enjoy it because it is not aligned to the intrinsic preference of that person. Yeah. On the other side, if you put an extrovert person into a people interaction job, that person will enjoy that. Now, to become successful in that job definitely will require discipline and professional skills, but this is just an example. So personality test helps you also find your blind spots, things that one may not be aware of. You may find your strengths through personality test. You will find your blind spots, also areas of development. There is one more thing that we use, which is called based on personality. You can also find out through a scientific report that what are the careers and professions which are suitable for your personality. One example I gave, but that's like a broad example. We go deeper into what are the areas that one may be suitable for. So that's one tool. Second tool, I mean, there are many tools that we use. Now, another tool that we use is also finding out your strengths scientifically. Strengths are things which energize you, and this is different from skills. Yeah, skills are something that we develop over a period of time through practice by working on it. But strengths are something that are natural to us, which energize us. Like communication or working with people is something that energizes me personally. So that's one of my strengths, and that's why I got into coaching as a profession. So that's another assessment. One more assessment which I spoke about is assessing your skills. What are your top 10 skills are? And when I say top 10, Nishad, let me also define what I call as top 10 or top skills. Skills that you are good at or great at, and skills that you enjoy applying, skills that you enjoy using. That is what makes a great combination. A lot of time people look at being good at something, but my view, or my philosophy around making careers sustainable is that one should be working on something that they are really good at, and they are enjoying what they're doing. That makes it a golden combination. And there are assessments that that can be used to find these out.
Excellent. Now that makes a lot of sense. I think self-reflection or self-awareness is probably the starting point. Of most of the journey.
Yeah.
Before I went to Australia, I always saw career as something that is outward, and then I will take an inward journey.
Uh-huh.
But the more that I talk to people, and the more I understand, I think it is an inward journey more than an outward journey. You got to figure out internal stuff and then say where do I really fit in. Not that you find the fitting in first and then say, can I how do I adjust to it. Now, I'm not at all advocating that people should drop everything that they are doing. And I'm not talking about a monk who sold his Ferrari or something, that you leave everything and then just go completely, on that path. Well, some people can do it, but I'm not advocating that at all. So you got to do it, rationally, something that works for you and for your family and your circumstances, because it's ultimately tailored. The whole thing is, if we talk about, in your experience, if we talk about what
Yeah.
really stops people in taking that career transition, even though knowing that I don't really enjoy the work that I do. I
Yeah.
know that there are people who are doing far much better job, far more satisfying job, right? How, so what are your views on what stops people, or what blocks people in kind of taking those leap of faith, taking those steps?
Sure, sure. I'll come to that. But before that, I just wanted to touch upon what you said earlier, because which is very, very important point, Naishad, that you brought up, is self-awareness. And if I can expand that on that a little bit, I call that as an inside-out approach. If one can take to careers, traditionally, conventionally, we have taken outside-in approach. What are the jobs in demand, what are the careers in demand. I want to do that because I can get a job. Nothing wrong with that, nothing wrong with that. But people realize over a period of time that, oh, this is not something that I enjoy doing. I'll give you an example. One of the clients that I'm currently coaching, she did a course in data analytics from very, very reputed institute in India. Very, very reputed. She spent 4 lakh of rupees and 1 year of her time completing that data analytics course. At the end of that year, at the end of that course, she realized that she doesn't enjoy that at all. So this money is wasted, her time is wasted, and what she got as the outcome of that is frustration, and she did not move forward in her career. So taking inside out approach, so this was outside in approach, which doesn't work for many people. Inside out approach is first knowing who you are, what your interests are, what would you really like to do, and then taking the steps from there. That's the inside out approach that we propose, and that's what we work with our clients. I'll come to your question now, that what stops people. One, Nishad, what stops people is moving out of comfort zone. Because any type of career transition, yeah, it requires one to move out of their comfort zone and try something new. Even for that matter, as you rightly mentioned, learning new skills. is moving out of your comfort zone. It requires dedication, it requires commitment, it requires effort. So is one really willing to do that, moving out of comfort zone? So that's one. Secondly, also there are a lot of myths. People, I see. So in last 5 years, I have spoken to thousands of people who are looking at making their careers better. Another thing that stops them is that, especially when they're in their 30s or in their 40s, they say, oh, now, can I do it now? Maybe it's too late for me. Can I do it? There are myths. There are myths around career transition and career reinvention. Yeah. And those myths need to be busted. First, those are beliefs that, now I'm 40, so I changed my career at 40. A lot of people told me, hey, now you're 40, what can you do now? What is you have spent like 20 years in your corporate career, right? But what will you do differently now? Can you really do it? So that's self doubt also creeps in. So there are myths that need to be busted around that. A lot of people think that when they're reinventing their career, they have to start from the bottom. That's another myth. Not at all. You can use your skills, you can use your life experience to bring value to what you're doing. So there are more myths around, as you rightly mentioned, Naishad, that, hey, does it mean that I have to leave everything and start something anew? What will happen to my family? I have EMIs to pay, I have family to take care of. It's not that you have to ignore all of that. You can take care of that and do something. So I think one of the aspects which I would like to bring in, Naishad, is to and approach and not or approach. You can do this, take care of your family, and also reinvent your career. You don't have to do it in one day. It doesn't happen in one day anyway. You have to start preparing yourself. It may take 6 months, it may take a year. In my case, it took me almost a couple of years to reinvent completely and start a new inning for myself. Another thing that stops people is not having clarity of what to do. Yeah. For developing that clarity, we spoke about that earlier in our conversation, Naishad, that looking at why, looking at your vision, what you want to do, what are the skills that you bring, what are your interests. These are all the things one needs to take into consideration. So that will slowly but surely will start bringing clarity. And definitely there are professionals out there who can help individuals who are really wanting to reinvent their careers. So these things, Nishad, in my experience, stop people.
Excellent. And one of the thing, if I can add, because I think you touched upon every barrier. So I think one of the trigger could be to to look at career change is that if you or to identify where do I want to move my career in, is to think about what problems really irritate you.
Yeah,
Where do you find yourself gravitating towards, right? Like for example, you see a ad on the news, or you see a printed and say, no, that is atrocious. I think I can do much better than this, right? That's if your mind space is occupied by a certain kind of problem that you want to solve, maybe that's a trigger. Maybe that's an area that you want to check out whether there could be a career for you into there. Like similarly, how I changed my career from
yeah,
from a
yeah,
sales from engineer to work with job seekers who are disadvantaged, because I felt,
yeah,
I saw that I was disadvantaged, job seeker, and I did not receive the adequate help at that time. So I think it most of the time it is a personal situation that you find yourself in, and you want to do something about it, and that's how it kind of unfolds from it. Lastly, I want to ask you the power of network in your
yeah,
career transition, because that's an area that not really fully kind of explored around how networking or the power of your social and professional network can really help you make those decisions or facilitate in those career transition process. What are your thoughts on how do you really network for while you are changing your career?
sure, sure. So you're right, Naishad. When it comes to networking, a lot of people, in my experience, and I'll include myself also into that. Um, I did not network consciously. Almost for 18 years, only people I knew were colleagues that I worked with. on projects that I worked with. Those are the only people I knew. I never went out and consciously tried to build my network. And I realized only later that it is so important. It is so important to have a network, and there are many benefits of network, right? One is, people, what's going on in the outside world. There are so many different types of professions which are there. There are different types of roles which are coming up. There is a lot that you can learn from people outside your industry. That is something I started doing when I started reinventing my career. I thought, hey, you know what, I should have done it 15 years back. Yeah. So I would, encourage people, to start networking wherever they are, even if they're in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, doesn't matter. Start networking. It expanded my horizons, Naishad. I started networking into, so I used to go to this forum called the Indus Entrepreneurs, right? I had never interacted with entrepreneurs. I had never interacted with, startup founders. Yeah. And I found out that, wow, this is such an amazing space. There is a lot of things happening here. Yeah. So I learned a lot, from that networking. I learned a lot, from everybody that I met. So networking is really, really important, and professionals ignore this bit. And thanks, Nashad, for you bringing it up. This is a very excellent point. People also, there are some people, based on their personalities, they don't have a preference to reach out also. Yeah. So they feel, oh, I'm not comfortable in networking. But I would say that networking should be a strategic piece in terms of your career building. It is a strategic piece, because network brings in a lot of value, not only for yourself. You create value, you contribute to your network, and that's how networking works. It's not only for your benefit, it has to be benefit for everybody involved. So, going out of your comfort zone to build your network, you get to know so many things, you get to learn so many things. There are forums available now. We are all currently in lockdown. Yeah. Even then, there are so many online forums which are available, right? Which you can join, where you meet new people, and learn new things from them. And it is really important, especially Naishad, in my experience, that after a certain level of experience, let's say, 15 years of experience, 20 years of experience, as we look at this pyramid, right, in any organization, number of jobs at higher levels become lesser and lesser. People like to recruit people whom they know, whom they trust. Yeah. These days, I mean, of course, there are job portals out there, but for especially mid senior level positions, lot of these positions get filled up through referrals only. Referral is a much more powerful way of, finding a job or finding opportunities than, applying through job portals. I have nothing against job portals. Let me say that very clearly here, right? Yeah, but for senior level positions, network is really, really important. You, through your network, you can find opportunities. Yeah. So these are some of the thoughts, uh, I wanted to share on the networking piece.
Excellent. No, that's really, really, really important. Network or building a relationship goes a long way, because you can actually gather a lot of intelligence and figure out the insights of about an industry, about a
Yes.
vocation, just out chatting with people that normally, in the normal sense of the work, you don't really get to really understand. For example, a lot of people say, "Oh, project manager. Wow, that's such an amazing, fancy title and everything else." But when you talk to a project manager, then you find out, oh God, this is like a fireman's job. Do I really want to do this job, or do I really want to do something else? So I think you can only understand
Yeah.
those things once you talk to somebody, and your network really helps you to gather that market intelligence.
Very true.
Excellent,
Very true. And,
excellent. Oh,
if
yes,
I can add, Nashad, here. Yeah. Yeah. So I think you said it really well. You know, First, initially you talked about role modeling, based on jobs and careers that interest you. Definitely it's a great idea to go and talk to these people. What do they really do? Yeah. And I advise that to my clients, that if they want to change careers and they want to do something different, first go and talk to people who are doing it already, right? There is no better way to find out about that job, through these persons. So that is something, absolutely a must everyone should do. Another thing is, through your network, while there are many ways of networking, these days online networking is the best networking that you can do. But you need to have, a very clear mindset that, it's always first give what you can give to this network, and then expect, some kind of return from there. So I think that mindset is also very important in networking.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Hemant, that brings us to the end of this amazing discussion with you. So, how do people want to, if people want to know about you and how you can help them, do they just go and find you on LinkedIn, Hemant Deshpande, and then connect with you?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, LinkedIn is a great way to connect with me. We also have a website called hemandeshpande.com, and they can, contact me from the website also. So these are two great ways to connect with me. There is also an email ID, which is info@hemandeshpande.com. They can write to me directly through that.
Excellent, Hemant. Thank you very much for spending some time on a Saturday lockdown, morning with us, and we wish you very very best. For our listeners, please stay safe, stay healthy, and stay indoors, please. I look
Yeah.
forward to chatting
Nishad,
with you
anything else you
tomorrow
want me to
again.
share on this?
No, that's it.
Thank you.
All right, bye everyone.
All right.